Hey everyone! Today I'm just going to be going through how I drew this cat. I have done a shorter version just showing you how I drew the eye, so I will put a link to that in the description. So if that's something that you want to see, then look at that first and then we'll go through the entirety of this beautiful cat. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Let's get into it.
Okay, so I start off with the eyes, and essentially it's just a basic black outline around everything, and I'll start off with doing a base layer, and the colour I chose was an ivory, and that just sets down a nice colour to work on top of, and then I'll start to just kind of map out those lines going out from the pupil. Again, this is a full video if you want to learn about the eyes, but yeah, just get some lovely colour in there and make sure you've got some nice shadows. So I'm using a grey pencil and a darker grey now just to really dramatise those shadows. And leaving some nice highlights so that the eyes sparkle and come alive. So this is a really brief, quick little demo for you. Yes. So that's how you do an eye, and we're about to see my camera go on a stupid angle, but whatever, that happened. So essentially around the eyes, you're just going to want to start doing some light mapping out areas where you know it's going to get a bit darker, and really just pay attention to the directions that the hairs go in, especially around the eyes and the nose. You can see they kind of go down around the bottom of the eye and then kind of curve around and go like down towards the nose and then right in towards each other where they kind of converge between the two eyes. So just really like look at those directions. And then you're going to start to darken up some areas and just work on building up those layers like slowly. You're not going to want to go too handy too fast. So just map in those areas and make sure you're leaving the whites of the hairs is really important, rather than just getting those dark hairs in, is to pay attention to the areas where there's a really light hair and you have to draw around it. So start to map in those dark areas and just slowly building up those areas. And on the nose again there's some really tiny hairs, so just little short strokes, not too long, just paying attention to the directions that they go in. So right between the eyes you can see the hairs kind of meet up in the middle, so that can be tricky to work around, but just slowly. So this is way sped up, so just really just work on it slowly and don't try and make everything happen too fast. With the nose, I haven't done a massive amount of detail. It's mainly just making sure you get the shadows right and some good tonal values in there. And we're going to start working around the muzzle here. So the left hand side is really light and the right hand side is really dark. So the left hand side, which I'll work on first, just be careful not to use too much colour and too many lines, because a lot of that space you're going to want to leave just the white of the paper. So focusing on drawing around the light areas rather than drawing too much colour into dark areas is my little bit of advice, if it makes enough sense. And then when you come down to the right hand side, that's where you can start to add a lot more contrast and pull hairs out. And something that's really important is the hairs of the face, they always kind of overlap each other and go in different directions. So to try and capture that and really just get individual hairs, just take your time and draw one around one, and there's shadows underneath them. It's a real big process. So now we're going to jump on to the ears, which can be a really tricky thing to figure out because there's a lot of white, long, overlapping hairs in there, so it can be quite hard to not put too many lines in there. You don't want it to be a really full, harsh, lined up area, if that makes any sense. You just want to kind of use shadows more so than harsh lines. So if you can see up the top there's some light shadows in there, and I use a lot of my light grey pencils to really just get in those shadows for you. And I'm going to start working on the left hand side of the face, and this side of the face is a lot lighter than the other side, so I'm not going to put too much colour down, but the colour that I do put down, my lines are going to be precise, and you just want to draw every little hair, you know. So any kind of section of colour, it's not just a blocked in coloured in area, you're going to want to define every hair. I will just say that it can be really difficult to do that on like a really illuminated side of the face, because you're going to want to draw around the white areas and use those negative spaces as your detailed hairs. So that can be really hard, but it just takes time to work on that. And then on the right hand side of the face, it's a lot darker. So as you can see already on the forehead, there's a lot more shadow, and it's a lot darker, and it's going to come around the right hand side of the face as well. So again, even if it's going to be darker, you're going to just lay down all those hairs in a lighter colour, because you have to build up fur layers one by one. Even if it's going to be a dark colour later on, you're going to want to just start off with the lighter ones, because that's going to add depth to your drawing. If you were to just kind of colour in that dark colour, there's going to be no real life or layers or look to that the face is actually in shadow. It's just going to look like a dark area. I have sort of coloured in the area like beneath the right hand side of the face, because that's like a full-on shadowed area, so I haven't worried too much about that. It's going to look a lot better once everything else comes together. But again, on the ears, just those gentle little white hairs overlapping each other, going in different directions, and just paying attention to all the shadows that are in there. So now, something that's important again with those shadowed and highlighted areas is the left hand side of like the mouth area is fully white. So you're going to want to make sure that each little hair that goes around that, going into the neck and collar area, is pulling out white lines and white hairs from below the mouth, rather than just kind of colouring that in. It's all got to be very well constructed and thinking about how the hairs overlay one another. So again, with the neck area, it's all nice, furry, fluffy hair. You're just going to want to shadow it all together, and they kind of, hairs all, especially with the photo that I'm working with, the hairs kind of clump together. So you've got little groups and sweeping areas where the hair comes together, and there's shadows underneath those areas. So just really think about how all the hairs come together and interact with each other. Now the fun part is I'm going in with my white gel pen and pulling out the bright white whiskers. So what I do is I've really just laid down a lot of colour there. And here I go in with an etching tool that I found. It's just a sharp metal object, and essentially just scraping around the little imperfections that might have come from the gel pen, and just scratching away any areas that might not be quite right till it's a really nice straight line. So again, I'm just drawing out those lines and just kind of thinking about how at the end of a whisker the hair is really fine, and at the base of it, at the face, it's really thick. So just using the etching tool to thin out those lines. But essentially that's, there you have it. We have the final scanned in drawing, which took me, give or take, 6 hours to complete.
Hello again. So thank you so much for watching that video. Hopefully it was helpful to some of you. Please, if you have any other questions that I might not have covered in that video, please just comment below and just be like, what up, what the hell, I want to know what you did, why are you not telling me all the things that I want to know. So that is something that you should do, and you should also like this video if you did like it, and subscribe if you want to see more. And honestly, just tell me what you want to see and I will do my best to make what you want. That's what I'm here for. So without further ado, thank you so much. I will see you next time.